done and then cook for my kids, which takes a lot of time. Sometimes we get takeaway, but they like it, you know.
What are popular takeaway meals in your local area?
Fish and chips. It's a favorite with everyone, so you know that's an easy option. But generally, because of my own preference, I love just to get Thai and Vietnamese. You know, this is something that I could just get around my local area. It's very easily sourced.
How often do you eat fast food?
I try to eat really healthily, but then I tend to go down the Filet-O-Fish McDonald's route when I'm traveling. So I suppose only once every few months.
Now let's talk about seasons of the year. What's your favorite season of the year?
Well, I love any time when the sun starts to come out. So around spring or early summer before it gets too hot. You know, I just love a little bit of vitamin D and it makes me happier as well. So that is definitely better than the winter.
What do you do when it gets too hot in the summer?
Hide. I tend to also, go into any kind of buildings with air conditioning, and I have the fan on every night when it's really hot. So yeah, when it gets really hot in the summer, I really need a lot of like fans and kind of just anything I can hold with me when I go out as well.
At what time of year do you normally go on holiday?
I try to go outside of the school holiday season, but because I have kids, we tend to have to go during, when there's term breaks, when the school breaks. But my favorite time of going away would be during Christmas, because I much prefer to be in a warmer climate when it's really, really cold. So yeah, it's just that time before or after Christmas.
Have you ever been on holiday somewhere very cold?
Yes, I love Norway. It was amazing. It was just everything was like a picture perfect postcard. You could see the fjords in the distance and the what you call them icebergs. It was an experience, and to ride the husky sled, was also an amazing experience for me.
Now let's talk about clothes. Where do you buy most of your clothes?
I would like to do clothes shopping in the shop, but the reality is most of us do it online now. And I get my clothes from Zara and ASOS because I just love the hip and trendy, but also timeless look.
How often do you buy clothes for yourself?
I buy it more often than I should because I use online shopping and clothes shopping as a form of, like dopamine hit for me. So it's and for me, I love to express myself through my clothes. So because of that, then I need to find different clothes for different occasions. And so very often.
Have you always had the same taste in clothes?
No, I have not. Because I see myself as different identities throughout my life, before I became a mom, during, and then also after, when work became something that I could express myself, through. So yeah, I've had different fashion tastes, throughout the ages.
Now let's talk about social media. Mm-hmm. Which social media sites do you use?
I use Instagram and LinkedIn because I feel like I run a business and that's where my target audience are. I built a community through Instagram, and then on LinkedIn it's where I work on my business-to-business leads.
How much time do you spend on social media?
Way too much. I shouldn't be spending so much time, but I find that it is once you visit, social media and you post something, it's also about engaging with people to ensure that you build relationships. So yeah, a couple of hours a day.
Is there anything you dislike about social media?
I dislike the addictive quality about it, because so many of us are connected, through a tablet or a device now, and social media is our form of communication. So it's becoming, even though it seems like you're being connected to loads and loads of people, the actual quality of your relationships with your immediate sphere, kind of falls by the side. So yeah, that's one bad side to it.
That's the end of part 1 of the speaking test.
Oh.
So now we're going to move on to part 2 of the speaking test.
Sure.
I'm going to give you a cue card. You'll have 1 minute to read the cue card and prepare your answer. Feel free to make any notes during that 1 minute. At the end of the 1 minute, I'll let you know, and I'll ask you to speak for up to 2 minutes. Is that all clear?
Of course.
Okay. Here is your cue card. And I'll start the 1 minute preparation time. Here's a pen if you want to make any notes. So please speak for up to 2 minutes on this topic, please.
Okay, so a job that I really enjoyed is being a speaker and a storyteller. And I love doing this job now because when I was growing up, I love writing little stories and just connecting with people and having conversations. But I never thought that I could become a speaker one day. I started my career, in STEM, and then ventured through 16 different industries because I didn't really know where in the world of work I fitted into. But eventually I realized that all this became really useful for me to gain all the skills that I needed, in communication, and brought it all together in a field that I was deeply passionate about. That allowed me to channel what I really love about my work and a topic that I love, to make a difference in people's lives. Being a speaker is the perfect place to do this because you could influence people's thoughts and inspire positivity in people's lives, which is something that you could do in other places, but the impact is so much more immediate and you are affecting people in such a big way and affecting a bigger audience as well whilst you're doing it. And this is something that I'm very lucky to be able to do now. And I don't take it for granted and know that the journey for me to get here has been really long. But I'm deeply grateful for being given this opportunity. And why I like it also is that to be able to connect with people in a topic that is so personal about mental health and well-being, where in some way or other, we're all struggling in life. But
Thank you very much. That's the end of the 2 minutes.
Thank you. I could have gone on.
No, absolutely good. So now we're going to move on to part 3 of the speaking test, and we're going to continue to talk about careers. What factors do you think are important when choosing a career?
I think it's really, really important that we are interested in what we're doing. And because if you're not interested, then there's absolutely no chance that you're going to be able to have longevity in that career. We should also choose an industry where there's a potential for you to really grow within that industry. Because as we're moving now into the future of work, technology is very quickly replacing people, especially with artificial intelligence. It's threatening a lot of jobs like writing and recruiting and connecting, with people. So we need to look at how, the industry that you're going into has got the potential to go beyond that, technological capacity. What can you bring as a human, that no technology or anyone could replace you, if you were to go into it.
Why do you think some people fail in some careers?
I think one of the main drivers, I think, for people is money. And when you do anything solely because of money, then it will never work. And the reason people fail, I think, the biggest reason is because they have failed to align their identity with their work. Because we spend a third of our lives, in work. So a very big proportion of it, needs to feel fulfilled. And it can only be fulfilled if you understand, what you like authentically inside, and then, go into a career. But then the reality is that most people then, just jump in and figure it out, explore, and then we'll work it out, in hindsight. I guess that's what life's about.
Now let's talk about working from home. In the future, do you think most people will work from home?
I think it definitely seems that way anyway. After the pandemic, hybrid working is becoming more common. And a lot of organizations are offering fully remote working now, which a lot of people like. But there are also people who like human interactions, like connections, people who live by themselves or just need some accountability. So being amongst people could be a good thing. But I think if technology were to replace, a lot of the work, then people would actually eventually do more remote work.
And finally, what are the disadvantages of working from home?
Well, I guess it's the disconnection, from people, but also not getting accountability for your work. Because I think working from home requires us to have a sense of agency, and some level of organization, which some people might not have. So we're dealing with different personalities here, and I think if we were to ask people what they prefer, then there's a better chance, for like either remote or not remote work to work.
That's the end of the speaking test. Well done.
Right.
I hope you enjoyed that Band 9 performance. What you should do now is watch one of these videos. If you want to compare Band 9 with a Band 8 performance, click on this video. Or if you want to know why that was Band 9 and exactly what you can do to improve to the score that you need, click on this video where I'll explain the key differences between lower bands and higher bands.